The saying goes, diamonds are a girl's best friend, as is gold, platinum, and other precious minerals, which, based on the business data platform Statista, are expected to drive jewelry sales worldwide to $292 billion in 2025, up from $230 billion in 2020. Now, women account for a large part of the consumers of jewelry, but not so much in the extractive industry itself, where though they comprise between 30 to 50% of the total workforce in small-scale mining, men dominate. In today's edition of Our Voices, we'll spotlight some women who are working in mining despite the hard work and sometimes personal risk that they take for very little profit, and what the future holds for women in mining. Hello, I'm Dimyake Mwakaliele, and this is Our Voices. Now, on today's program, we focus on women who have chosen the grueling and hard work of mining for a living. A 2018 report by the International Institute for Sustainable Development says women make up between 30 to 50% of the total workforce in artisanal small-scale mining, or ASM, but earn little compared to the long hours and harsh conditions that they have to work in. Mining has long been one of South Africa's largest sectors, but women are still a minority in its workforce. Now, a group called Women in Mining South Africa is trying to change that through a mentorship program. Linda Giftash reports for WEWE from Johannesburg.
Bailey Sebetlele is a geologist for Harmony Gold Mining. Mining seemed a natural career choice for the 29-year-old with interests in science and exploration. But with women making up less than 15% of the country's mining workforce, fitting in did not come as easily. She recalls the first day without her male supervisor by her side.
I had to go underground on my own, do the actual work. I got this other man telling me that, no, Bailey, we're not going to listen to you. You're young enough to be my daughter or my granddaughter, so I'm not going to listen to you.
6 years into her career, Sebetlele says she has built trust with her male colleagues, but the path could have been easier with more support. That's why the non-profit Women in Mining South Africa launched a mentorship program for 42 young mentees, including Sebetlele, this year.
I think that it can become a very lonely journey when you're in these very, very male-dominated industries, and without having some sort of support or guidance, it can force you to leave the industry a lot quicker than you should. So there was definitely a need for mentorship.
Mining has long been a male-dominated industry in South Africa. Women could not legally work underground until 1996. An employer organization called Minerals Council South Africa took a survey about work conditions in the industry and found practical barriers for women.
Though it was generally positive, there were still comments around issues of inadequate physical infrastructure, things like those unisex toilets, and again, PPE, which is suited for women.
PPE, or personal protective equipment. Sebetlele says it's also difficult to find work boots small enough for her feet. The Minerals Council says companies are adapting equipment in the environment to ensure women's safety and comfort on the job. Women in Mining is also trying to boost the number of women in the mining industry by providing career booklets to schools about the many diverse jobs that do not require work underground.
Young girls as early as probably grade 8 or 9 will start seeing what these different faces look like and these different careers look like, so that they're able to understand the subjects that they need to take at school. People are starting to see that it's not just about putting on a hard hat and overalls.
For Sebetlele, having a female mentor to talk through the daily challenges at work has made a difference. As she sets her ambitions higher, seeing other women advance in the sector is encouraging.
For instance, in our corporate office, now with the new appointments, you're seeing women, you're starting to see women occupying those strategic positions. You're starting to see young women taking up space. So I think any young woman can do it with the right guidance and with the right mindset as well.
Positive feedback from this year's 42 mentees has Women in Mining planning to expand its program. The organization is looking at establishing mentorship for mid-career women who want to rise through the corporate ranks next year. Linda Giftash for VOA News, Johannesburg.
According to the International Institute for Sustainable Development, about 40.5 million people work in artisanal and small-scale mining. And of these, between 30 to 50% are women. In 2008, the African Union and the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa jointly launched the African Mining Vision to maximize the development outcomes of mineral resources exploitation through policy and regulatory frameworks. The vision includes empowerment of women by integrating gender equity in mining policies, laws, regulations, standards, and codes. Georgette Barnes Sachi Ado of Ghana is a woman pioneer in mining, supplying exploration, drilling, and mining equipment through her company Georgette Barnes Limited, and serving as current president of the Association of Women in Mining in Africa, or AWIMA. She explains how she got into mining, her expectations for the Africa Mining Vision, and how she's helping other women do the same.
From working through exploration and trying to support technical people, I realized that there was a gap in the market. Well, there wasn't a gap, but the gap was mainly filled by multinationals, and I felt there was space enough for Ghanaians to also partake in the industry. And so I said, why not? Let me give it a try. And I wanted to. And I decided to do what I knew best, what I had become very comfortable with, which was in the exploration and drilling space. So yes, so that's how I started. I started Georgette Barnes, and we currently are have clients all over West Africa, and the plan is to go full continent. Almost every mine in West Africa, I think we have done one tiny supply.
Now, this is where I guess the association that you were chosen to be president of in 2019, the African Women in Mining Association, comes in, right? You try to really uplift and empower and kind of place women in a trajectory where they can grow in the industry.
The Association of Women in Mining is what we really want to do. It's advocacy and bringing the stories of women out, linking women to opportunities, and making sure there's a participation of women in a more economic and profitable way. So basically, that is what the association is aims to do.
I read a quote where you say that women are either also not aware of the opportunities that are available for them, or they feel afraid or inferior culturally to men, and hence also the lack of aggressiveness in pursuing really high levels of mining. Is that still true?
It is very true. It still runs true, and there are various sociocultural issues that have contributed to that. And so you find that a lot of women in mining national associations now try to have a lot of mentoring programs, even like, for example, in Ghana, for example, we had a lot of profiles that we put out there on social media, just so people can see that women exist in the industry. Mm-hmm. A lot of national associations keep doing that. It is not something that we are doing to show off, but you need to inspire people. You need for people to see these images, to realize that, yes, it is a possibility. Yes, I do not only have to be a civil engineer working in construction. I can also work in the mining industry. I can be a geotechnical engineer. And so this storytelling is a very important activity of associations.
What changes are you also seeing in terms of legislation and policy? The African Union and the UN launched this African Mining Vision, which is supposed to help even empower women through policy and legislation. Are you seeing any of that that is at least giving that kind of support?
I think that it was the concept of the African Mining Vision and the need to make sure that everybody was participating. That is what actually brought about the formation of the Association of Women in Mining in Africa. So I think that is one of the positives. But it is a very difficult terrain. It's a very difficult terrain. The South African Mining Charter, I think, is one of the charters where there is legislation that promotes and says, ask companies to actually employ a certain percentage of women.
But there you are. You are still, in the business. So it must work to some level. How do you explain your survival in this?
I just did what I thought I felt like doing, something that I loved. I went in it with my passion, because I worked for one Australian consultancy, and I remember when the teams have to travel and they needed some items and I couldn't find them for them, how I used to feel, and how anytime I managed to get what they needed to be able to go and do exploration, how the team would call and say, oh, thank you, And I always used to think, Ghana, this is the Gold Coast, for Christ's sake. Anybody walking into Ghana should be able to find anything that they need to mine gold.
You hear how Africa is so powerful when it comes to having minerals. I believe, you can correct me on the figures, but more than 30% of the world's minerals are in Africa. Diamond, gold, cobalt, whatnot. And yet, the economies of many African countries, even those really rich in resources, mineral resources, are not doing very good economically. How do you juxtapose that, and how does it change?
Well, I'm not an economist, but I personally have realized that we don't build enough economic linkages around the minerals. And then secondly, value addition is not a thing in a lot of African countries. And these building economic backward and forward linkages, doing this is what would give the communities and people in the country economic activity. So you are mining gold. The inputs for the gold, for the whole value chain, most of them, we have to get them from Canada, from Australia, or from South Africa and Europe. Because the industries that produce a lot of the equipment, the industries, we do not have them here. And we do not have investors who want to invest in industry to support these economic linkages.
We're going to take a quick break now. But do you love jewelry? And have you ever thought of getting into the mining business? Share your views on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Our handle is at WEWE, our voices. We are also on WhatsApp. Our number is on your screen. Stay tuned to meet two women who have broken the glass ceiling in a lucrative part of mining, diamonds. This and more after the break on Our Voices.
We're bringing women's voices to the conversation, and more than that, we're building a community of inclusion and empowerment.
Here in Kinshasa, campaigns to raise awareness against the spread of coronavirus are common, but getting that information to people who have no access to water, electricity, or money can be a challenge.
We are here at Kalerwe Market in Uganda, Kampala, where in this whole market, women are crying out for their situations to change.
For women, it will be better for us.
I think a big thing for me is just being able to say that when these protests are happening, does it turn around into policy?
Our kids are raped every single day.
This movement got the governments to listen. It really was powerful because it showed what is possible when men and women band together and say enough is enough.
It's not necessary anymore to climb on a car. I can be in any place to cheer with the people.
Welcome back. You're with Our Voices. There are more women working in small-scale mining than large-scale mining because very few can afford to participate. However, Anya Benshol-Tolonen, professor of economics at Barnard College at Columbia University in New York, says women do benefit indirectly from large-scale mining.
So it started a couple of years ago, actually more than 10 years ago, when I was thinking about industries that might have very gender-specific impacts. And I thought of the mining industries and sort of extractive industries in general And I figured there really wasn't a ton of work that tries to identify the causal effect of this industry on women. So that's how I started.
You went through 8 countries in Africa and 50,000 women. Can you just narrow that down, the 8 countries, the 50,000 women, and how you discovered that, and what your analysis was on the impact of gold mining on these gender roles?
I used data from them from the 80s until, quite recently to understand how women are impacted by large-scale mining. So I compare women that live close to large-scale mines, gold mines in particular, to those that live further away. And I try to understand if the likelihood that women agree with these measures of acceptance of domestic violence, for example, change with the onset of mining. I do find that women who live close to mines are actually slightly less likely to accept domestic violence compared to women who live further away. So this is an impact that we attribute partly to the gold mining per se.
Mm-hmm. I'm also going through some of your research here where you say industrial mine opening is a mixed blessing for women. Can you explain that?
Of course. So first of all, mining, large-scale mining and small-scale mining for that matter, does not affect women and men in the same way. And when it affects women, it will affect women differently, right? In one paper, we explored heterogeneity on migrant households versus non-migrant households. Or it might be women who are, having businesses working in the service sector that benefit, versus some women who were farmers might see, increased competition over land, environmental degradation, and they might be losing out. So in this sense, we do call it a mixed blessing. I want to highlight that there really are opportunities that are generated for women within the large-scale mining industry or surrounding it, but it's not necessarily that everyone benefits from those.
And what's your overall takeaway from, the gender roles in terms of how they benefit women in the mining environments, in terms of, more mining, meaning more opportunities for women, better, I think also in your research, you say have better access to healthcare, they can fight better for healthcare, infant mortality even is improved.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate on that?
In one study, I do find that infant mortality rates decrease locally in areas where there is this type of mining investment. You might wonder why that is. I want to point out that the infant mortality rates that we saw before these investments was really extremely high. So even averages like 15% is what I saw in the data. So this is, a couple, in the 80s and 90s before a lot of this investment happened. We do find that the mining investment very rapidly changes the local economy. So there's some agglomeration effect, more urbanization. There's more other types of employment than just maybe subsistence farming. These cities and villages get a bit more connected to the outside world, and they have better access to healthcare. So this generates the reduction in infant mortality.
Mm-hmm. And what does it mean for a lot of women being in a mining environment but not getting hold of that gold? They don't have that gold in their hands.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's something that's unique to women, though. I feel like a lot of people might believe, locals who lived there beforehand, but also people migrating in, think that the mining opportunities are going to generate lots of gold, tangible gold and wealth for them. And it just doesn't, it's not going to be true for everyone. So, we have to think about policies and making it more equitable and share it with those who would serve it.
While it is rare to find women in the upper echelons of the mining industry, 2 South African sisters have made a breakthrough in this very male-dominated industry. Here's a report by Maurice de Klerk.
No, but it's just that they A passion for diamonds drove South African sisters Mosibudi Jo Matoli and Khomotso Ramodiba to drop their careers as an investment banker and an optometrist. After qualifying as diamond valuators, in 2008, they started a cutting and polishing shop, the first and only one run by sisters in South Africa.
Barriers to entry go beyond just being a woman or being a man. because the difficulty, it boils down to having an outfit like this. You really need a proper capital outlay. And for women, it becomes a bit tricky because this has always been a very male-dominated industry.
But seeing challenges as opportunities, the sisters cut their way into the diamond industry, selling only responsibly sourced certified stones bought from mining companies operating in South Africa. Kwame Diamonds carved out a niche in cutting and polishing fancy and bespoke cut diamonds.
To produce a forever marked diamond, which according to them, it's 1% of the world diamonds that are produced. If you are able to polish that kind of diamond, then you are among one of the best. So we can proudly say that we are among the best.
Matoli and Ramudipa employ and empower women in the diamond industry by developing their skills.
Now I can go out there and say, I'm a diamond cutter. I'm even specializing with fancy cut. It's something that it's so wow, because other people, they don't know it.
Globally, polished diamonds' profit margins are declining. The South African industry shrank from 4,500 polishers 25 years ago to only 250 polishers today. But the sister-run Kwame Diamonds has managed to not only stay in the market, but gain a reputation for innovation.
They're looking at the diamond industry from a different perspective. They're thinking out of the box. And maybe they're ticking all the right boxes that is giving them the success that they have. And maybe that's what a lot of the older diamond industry can learn from.
South Africa's diamond industry fears a lack of growth will not provide enough jobs for trained diamond talent. Matoli disagrees.
How you approach the business is what will set you apart. So yes, it is shrinking, but we are here not to shrink. We are here to make sure that we expand.
These dynamic sisters are determined to prove not that diamonds are a girl's best friend, but rather an industry where women can shine. Marisa de Klerk for VOA News, Bedfordview, South Africa.
It's time for another quick break. When we come back, Simonish Yekoye will bring you some fearless women in Burkina Faso who rock, literally. They're driving dump trucks and blasting rocks like their male counterparts and bringing other women into the mining industry. That's coming up in our Women to Watch segment. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're with Our Voices. It's time now for our Women to Watch segment with Simonish Yekoye. Take it away.
Thanks, Ndimiake, and hello, everyone. In this week's Women to Watch segment, we are meeting Pena Konate. She's a 42-year-old single mother who became a proud dump truck driver at Indavar mining industry in Burkina Faso. Well, in a male-dominated industry, Konate's path was not easy. However, benefiting from a global push to tackle gender imbalance in the mining industry, women employees at Indavar Mining say opportunities are changing their lives.
Tene Konate takes pride in telling incredulous relatives about her job. Driving a 72-ton dump truck around the vast open pit at the Hounde gold mine in western Burkina Faso, the single mother is one of 111 women at the mine, many of whom trained for jobs that would traditionally be done by men in West Africa, hauling rubble, blasting rocks, or driving heavy vehicles. But Konate says the first day was not easy.
The first day, just getting into the dump truck, I was scared. But little by little, with time, I thought that it's just a machine like any other. That is how it went, that's all.
With proper training, Konate managed to get from basic cleaning jobs to where she is now, a dump truck driver without supervision or assistance. However, women like Konate remain firmly in the minority, making up 11% of the workforce at Hounde, run by Canada's Endeavour Mining.
My uncle came when I was at home, and I spoke to him about this. Oh, really? I drive this machine? Honestly, he was very, very surprised to see I was doing that.
Konate's path into mining was far from smooth. In 2011, she had been jumping from one job to another, struggling to raise her 2 young daughters as a single mother. She says working at the mine has changed her life.
Work at the mine has changed everything in my life. Everything. I didn't even have a chair like this one. I used to sit on a stool. But today, here I am, sitting in the sofa. I look at the TV and I'm comfortable. I eat what I want. The mine has changed a lot. Changed everything in my life.
36-year-old Sonia Nkiema shares the same path as Konate. 4 years after starting work at the pit, she's now in charge of 60 workers, coordinating various operations at the pit for more than 100 people. She says her trainer, Nicolas Salwago, not only helped develop her skills, he urged her to control her temper and push her to move forward.
Salwago Nicholas. We call him the tough one. I salute him because, like I've always said, we must never forget where we come from. That is what is important. When I came for training with him, I said, yes, you are my little brother, but you had the opportunity to go in the truck before me. Don't think about the fact that I am your big sister. Show me, because tomorrow I will be even better than you.
Nkiema believes women are a huge asset to any company. As she explained, men tend to act before they think, while women always consider the consequences before taking action, be it at work or at home. Endeavour Mining says 20 to 30% of their total workforce will be made up of women in the near future.
Do you have what it takes to work in a male-dominated industry like the mining industry, like Konate did? Let us know using the hashtag #VOAOurVoices. Until next time, I am Simone Shegoye.
Thank you, Simonish. And that is where we end our show this week. Thank you to my colleagues here on Our Voices, and on behalf of everyone here at the Voice of America, I'm Dimiake Mokadiele saying thank you so much for watching. Stay safe.